So the Malabar Marching Falcons came about to be the funky marching band because Eddie, being a graduate and a Bobcat of Ohio University, brought the more hip kind of directors and people from Ohio University, and he taught us the funky chicken. And it was so different from the parade and formal marching band, and we were all over that. This was the 70s. And can we turn the lights out at the field? Can we, huh? Can we? And he would always just cave in and say, all right, Betty, all right. So we had great fun with our halftime shows, and you know, generations of kids would follow him anywhere. He knew how to blend the fun, but with the professional musicianship, carrying their careers forward in such a way because of the influence of Mr. C. It's very significant and a good testimony to his life and his talent and love.
Will have lost one of the sections. You know, he'll lost maybe the horn section, so he will have written it out by hand. So that when you go through the file there, you'll see a lot of stuff that's in his handwriting, which I think is really cool. Or he will have adjusted it to whatever his strength was. You know, he'd always say to me, "Michael, I don't have enough French horns or something." So he would rearrange things for what he had to work with, and he was very industrious that way.
He was our principal trumpet for 55 years, so I would assume that ever since Metronome opened, he was a part of that.
Yeah, we would get different ensembles. He would have the jazz ensemble come and play during the lunch hour maybe, or we'd play for an hour or two. We'd have different ensembles come. One was the brass quintet. I was always part of the brass quintet with Eddie. And I enjoyed that a lot because that's only 5 players, and we were all very good friends and got a chance to play a lot of different styles of music. And if you don't mind me telling a story, instead of letting it go and just going on to the next song, Eddie decided to say something to the audience, and he said, you know, I just want to say something about Ken. You know, this is very unusual. He never misses a note. He's right on every time, and you know, he just had an off time there, and it was so typical of him to care about other people, you know, and mention their strong points. And I always remember that story because, you know, instead of making me feel humiliated, he made me feel like I was on top of the world. He was always challenging me because we always played some pretty tough music, so it was a lot of fun. Facilitates the harmon mute, which Eddie used to play for the children in the community. A master at that. I don't do him justice when I play it, but he was great at that sort of style playing.
Certainly trumpet lessons he taught there. He always would be popping in there, and he would call me from Metronome, and I would see the phone ring and it would say Metronome, and I was thinking, who is calling me? It was always Eddie. He would just call me because he had a thought.
You know, it's not insignificant that Eddie was at a board meeting just a week prior to his passing, and in the month earlier, Michael Miller and I met with him in the interest of wanting to ease his burden because he was so dedicated to the Youth Symphony Orchestra, the spring concert that he had so hoped to direct. And we wanted to assure him that he had our support for easing that burden, finding someone that could help. Could we help? How could we do this? And in effect saying, Eddie, you know, maybe you need to back off of the stress that this is causing. And he admitted that it was stressful. We went one step further. I went one step further, and I said, could this be a place, Eddie, because there's such an outpouring of concern for you during your illness, and could we find a moment, an opportunity at this concert to help celebrate that legacy that you have? And he slumped his shoulders and said, no. This is about the kids. I don't want any attention. I want the attention on the musicians.
He just had such a fun personality. He was so warm and so caring, and that immediately came across. Not only did Eddie start the youth orchestra, but he also felt like this is not enough. We have to take music to kids, and it was something for the youth orchestra to do, to go out into schools on Saturday mornings and perform these lollipop concerts, which are hands down just the most fun thing you can think of, because we had balloons, we tied balloons to all the chairs in the orchestra. So you look into the sea of orchestra, and it's like 95 kids, all with balloons tied to their chairs, just multicolored balloons. And of course, lollipops. They get lollipops, all the kids that come. But one of the coolest things about it was the sound of music. So you would get to the end, and you would go back, and the reason we did that is because he wanted every kid in the audience to have the opportunity to come up to the podium and to be a conductor.